One and only Candace Owens had to say, piggybacking off of Charlie Kirk's assertions. Listen up.
But unfortunately, that is the reality of what happens when it comes to DEI. And what he is remarking on is true. I would be terrified if I got onto a plane and I saw a woman flying the plane. And I know that we have the United CEO saying that he just wants to fulfill a quota. He just wants there to be more women and wants there to be more black people. And he's not concerned at first with qualifications. That is something that should alarm all of us, guys, honestly.
Roland, before I even ask you the question, let me piggyback off of that to make sure that I'm giving proper context to her comments, because after Charlie Kirk said this, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. She follows up by saying, I said the exact same thing on this show just a couple of weeks ago. I remarked that now, when I even am watching a commercial, if I see a commercial and I see a black person, a Hispanic person, an Asian person, my thought process is, did they just get this because of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, for those that don't understand what those letters mean?
I think the majority of people, they understand what the problem is right now. They want to prop people up based on their color, based on their race. They want to prop certain people up, again, even if they score in the bottom percent. Because, again, they're black and brown. We got to have black and brown. We got to have diversity. Diversity is our strength. No, it's not. It's our weakness. It truly is, man. Now, I'm not saying we can't have black and brown pilots. Of course not. But we have to understand it is our weakness. Because right now, we're more concerned about hiring more black and brown people for a certain position. And again, we don't care if they score in the bottom percent. Because again, they're black and brown. They're black and brown. Yeah. Thing is, guys, we have truly got to understand right now it's dangerous. It's dangerous because, again, like Candace Owens said and Charlie Kirk, you know, they're concerned. They are concerned people. They look at it, they say, I wonder if they got the job because they're black. Yeah. I think a lot of people think that way. Again, it's true.
We have been a nation. The nation was built for white men, white male landowners. And so there's been this constant fight for equality, for freedom. What did MLK say in his speech, April 3rd, 1968 at Mason Temple, the night before he was killed? Be true to what you put on paper. And so what you have now is you have folks who are scared to death of how America is changing. By 2043, America's going to be a minority of whites, majority people of color. And so folks are freaking out. They're freaking out because this is about power. It's about money. And so what you've always had is, if you go back to the Black Freedom Movement, 1955 to 1968, King's assassination, affirmative action, when Nixon comes into the White House, Arthur Fletcher, they put that in place. Remember, LBJ gave a speech on that at Howard University before King was killed. And so it was, affirmative action. Well, we also know the greatest beneficiary of affirmative action has been white women. So they've always qualified. So they never use the qualifier qualified when speaking to somebody white. They assume they're qualified. But when it's anybody black or Latino or Asian, Native American or woman, are they qualified? Are they qualified?
We have to be honest about this here. Number one, I think all people should be concerned that the country is getting less white. They should be concerned. Why? Because, again, we understand the majority of violent crime in this country is committed by 13% of the population with your skin color. We do understand that. And again, man, you can say whatever you want to say about me, but that's a fact. And again, so people should be concerned, number one. And also, man, we have defund the police and no bail. And so again, man, and that stuff is not going to work. That stuff has been horrible. We know that. We already have proof of that. So number two, And again, man, number 3, talking about DEI, talking about affirmative action. Of course, white women are going to benefit more. Of course they are. Because again, white women are 30% of the U.S. population. Again, they're the biggest group that qualify for affirmative action. So again, there's going to be higher numbers of white women because, again, they're the highest number of anyone, of any group that qualifies for affirmative action. But again, man, this whole thing about DEI, like, you know, man, we can't question whether or not we're getting the best of the best. Well, of course we can. And we should. Because again, man, you're having people that may have minimal qualifications, but again, you're hiring them because of the color of their skin, because of their gender. You're hiring them. And again, people are going to question, again, are they the most qualified? Probably not.
But let me play devil's advocate for Candace Owens in this regard. Looking at these statistics, commercial aviation pilot stats, that's what I'm reading from Roland Martin. 3.4% of U.S. airline pilots are black, 2.2% are of Asian descent, 0.5% are Hispanic or Latino, and women make up just 4.6%. So considering the scarcity of those numbers, right, combined with Candace Owens articulating that the head of United Airlines talked about making sure that diversity is a critical element of our hiring process, does she not have a point in any way?
No.
Okay.
There's no point.
Why not?
Because again, what their goal is say, oh, see this diversity thing? Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's awful. Well, let's roll this thing back. If you took all those numbers together, about 80+% of all pilots in America are white.
Yeah.
We are white. Are white. They're white men.
Right.
So you're sitting there going, wait a minute. So because here's the whole deal. So now all of a sudden, we get a few women, a few black people, a few Latino people, a few Asian, a few Native Americans go, see, they're not qualified. I don't want to fly with them. I want to fly with them. But they don't question. See, this is the key. They don't question the qualifications of white men.
The reason why people don't question white men is because the white men have to compete amongst themselves to get a job. Where the black and brown people and the women, they're placed ahead of everyone. And again, their qualifications may be subpar. And probably, again, they probably are compared to the white men. Because again, they're a very small fraction of the population. And again, they're moving them ahead because they're black, brown, and female. So again, people are going to question. And again, I would worry if they didn't.
But here's something also that's critical, Stephen.
Okay.
And this is was freaking the white folks out. And I'm being especially these conservative folks. The Black Lives Matter movement, in the wake of the George Floyd death, we had massive protests across the world. That was the first time in American history that a black movement, and I'm saying that because there were many others involved, that a black movement, a majority of Americans supported it. You know what you had, Stephen? You had young white folks and Latinos, others who were demanding action and demanding change. That's what's scaring them. And so now it's, no, we gotta change this thing because we can't have these non-minority folks all of a sudden standing up for this. So we now gotta shift the conversation. And that's exactly what America has always done. Always.
The Black Eagle, Joe Madison, says it best. He talked about cultural conditioning. And the reason why I bring those two words up is because I'm thinking about somebody like a Candace Owens, a black woman, saying what she said, understanding that she herself is an accomplished individual. And because she's accomplished, are people to assume, if you took her words, people would use that as a license to dilute her accomplishments, to dilute her qualifications. And yet that seems to be something that really was not embraced by her. Roland Martin, how do you explain it? How do you explain that?
It's called a grift game, brother. It's a grift game. We know the grift game. You have always had certain black folks who are like, yo, I can get paid by these folks.
Talking about the grift game, I'm sure you're very aware of that game. I'm sure you're very aware because, again, that is what you do. You want to keep black people ignorant. You want to keep them, mad and fear. And again, that's what they are. And you know it. I mean, again, you talk about white fear, but again, black people are in fear. And again, they're fragile. If you say something wrong, again, I'm sure I'm going to get all kinds of comments to this video because, again, they're going to be mad. People are going to be angry. Well, how dare you say this? You don't know you're white. I'm going to get all kinds of comments because of that, because I can't say nothing. And again, that's white fear right there. That is what white fear is. They don't want to be called racist. They don't want to be looked at as bad. So again, they're going to give in and say, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I can't say anything. I can't. You better say something because, again, we understand what is going on. And again, people like you, Roland, what you do is you keep people worked up. You keep them angry. You keep them small. And you profit off of that. That's how you get paid.
Folks, this third reconstruction needs to last a minimum of 20 years, and you got to address the money. Because in the first one, the money wasn't addressed. That was 40 acres and a mule. In the second one, money wasn't addressed. If you look at the last 5 years of King's life, he was focused on the money. Coretta Scott King said they killed my Martin when he started talking about the money.
That's right.
Now, all of a sudden, the George Floyd piece, corporations announced 40, 50, 60 billion dollars in commitments. Many of them have not done it. But you had the white backlash. It's like Trump is right there, all of the MAGA folks. And so, hold up, what's going on? They've gotten enough. Mm-hmm. And so now they're pulling back because of that white fear and, I don't want to take this side out. You got to have corporate leaders who have the guts to say, we cannot have a future if we are not appealing to all of America and not just white America.
I'm talking
discrimination. That's what you're getting. I mean, again, what you're doing is you're saying, look, there's not enough female engineers. We have to prop women up over the men to give them a leg up so they can become engineers. But again, things are equal. What women do more often than not, they end up going into programs like teaching, nursing, and men tend to go into like business and engineering. But again, that's what they do for the most part. But you like to, prop people up artificially over other people. So again, to have more people of color, more women, whatever, in certain jobs, and that right there is discrimination. You're actually advocating what you say you're against.
I'm talking to not only an outstanding host, Roland Martin Unfiltered, more than 1.2 million subscribers, by the way. Major props to you for that. But I'm talking to a friend, somebody that I respect, that I know is far more knowledgeable on these subjects than I am. You brought up how they're fearful of this backlash. Perhaps that explains the following that Trump has. But in the same breath, what I would ask you is this. Shouldn't the fear reside with folks, whether they be on the left, whether they be on minority communities, etc., when we look at the momentum being gained by the former president, who's got 4 indictments against him, 91 counts. He could absolutely positively end up being a convicted felon and still being in the White House, which says something to me about the state of this country. So when you talk about the fear they may have, what about the fear we should have?
Well, here's the deal. Remember, he won following 8 years of Obama. He was the white backlash to 8 years of Obama. In my book, White Fear, I've been fixated on this since 2009 because there was a study there was a poll that was taken, Stephen. And the question was asked, are you optimistic about the future of America for your children? Every group, Black, Latino, Asian American, Native American, majority said yes. Only one group was less than a majority, white America.
Number one, man, you like to push, you like to make everything about race. But again, it's not. It's truly not about race. But again, that's the way you make your money. I mean, again, I'm sure people understood back in 08 and 12 that Barack Obama was black. They knew that then. But they voted for him anyways. Man, it wouldn't matter if every black person that could vote for him voted for him back in 08 and 12. And again, they did, but it wouldn't have mattered. Because again, black people are a very small percent of the country's overall population. We have got to understand that. But again, you want to say that, you know, everything is racist. Right now, Trump is a pushback to Obama. Or back in 2016, he was a pushback to 8 years of Obama. That's not right. White people put him there. I mean, again, you can say whatever you want, but white people put him there. They voted for him in big numbers. But again, man, we also have to recognize that people that supported Barack now support Trump. I mean, again, there are a fair amount of people that supported Barack that now support Trump. Why? Because again, we understand that destroyed our country. Number one, his policies did not help. His race relations did not help. Black Lives Matter at the White House. Again, remember, if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon. You know, again, man, it did not help one bit. But again, we also have to remember, right now, we have the border wide open. We have the whole trans agenda. We had to use whatever pronouns because we don't want to offend people. We got DEI programs. They want to push getting hormone blockers and therapy and whatever on kids because maybe they were born in the wrong body. No, they weren't. And again, man, you're making all this about race. It's not about race. It's about what's happening. The evil that's happening to this country and actually the Western world as a whole. But again, you want to make it about race. Why? Because that's the way you make your money. That's your game. You get paid that way by getting people mad, by getting people all worked up. But guys, man, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thanks.
You son of a